Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to another episode of How to Warframe. Today we're going to go over different weapon types. Just an overview, we'll get a little more in depth in a later episode. To start with, we have the Mark I Parasir, which is a bow. Now bows are a high risk reward type weapon, meaning they can do a lot of damage, but they also take a good bit of skill to use, as they do have quite a bit of travel time. Next, for the sidearm, I have dual pistols, which, while it gives me a larger capacity magazine than a single pistol, I take a penalty in accuracy. So, once again, a little bit of a trade-off there. I have my Prismascana here, single sword. Some frames have bonuses, like the Excalibur Warframe gets a bonus to single swords. As far as melee weapon goes, I found that for the most part, there are a couple in the game that are better than the rest, but for the most part, it's just going to be your preference, what you like to use. Next type of weapon we have is something like this Brayton here, which is assault rifle. Kind of a medium accuracy, medium range type weapon. Brayton is one that's doesn't really excel at anything, but you can mod it to be decent at just about anything. Next we have a burst fire rifle, which is the Burston Prime, Tiburon, and then what I consider to be the two best rifles, for me at least, the Sabaris and the Dex Sabaris, which is the anniversary version of the weapon. That's the Dex Sabaris right there, which that is a 2-round burst, while that is a 3-round burst. Then you have your shotguns. This one has actually a charge. The more you charge it, the smaller the spread is. This is an automatic shotgun. You have your sniper rifles, which sniper rifles have an interesting mechanic where when you zoom in you get a bonus to your damage. It might be straight bonus to damage or bonus to crit chance or crit damage, and that bonus increases as you zoom in and as you chain hits together, and it does take a bit of skill. I'm actually not very good with the sniper rifles, just not my style of play. This one falls in the beam category, but it's a flamethrower, and everyone should have a flamethrower. That pretty much covers the weapons for the most part. Here's a rocket launcher. This is a charge beam cannon which does massive damage. Take a look at that base damage there. Well, that just about covers the basic weapon categories. You have a few that don't really fit into any category. Like this one, you basically create small black holes. Then you have a grenade launcher. This, the Zooge, I guess is how you say that, and the Attica fall in the bow category, but they're both repeating crossbows. Moving on to the secondaries, we have our dual pistols, which, as you can see, there are quite a few of those. These are probably my favorite. We have our single pistols, which there are quite a few single pistols that do special things, like this one does base toxic damage, easy to mod for corrosive. This is a beam cannon, which this one has a really awesome mechanic. When it hits an enemy, it'll bloom out to enemies around that one. We have our dual automatic pistols. This one is the 100-day weapon, which has an interesting alternate fire where it shoots out that magazine and all 100 rounds will fire in a circle around wherever that magazine lands. We have a little hand crossbow, which either fires a burst of 4 or one single charged shot, depending on whether you just tap the trigger or charge it. The Kastanas have an interesting thing. When you throw them, they do a little bit of damage, but that 100 electricity damage is actually done when you hit the alt fire and make them explode. So those are kind of useful if you want to kind of booby trap a door. Have a hand shotgun here. More dual pistols. Dual automatic pistols, which have no accuracy at all. Throwing knives, these are the ones that drop from the stalker, and you can mod these to absolutely wreck. Beam cannon, that's about what I can say about it. It's a beam cannon. Got throwing stars. This is an automatic hand shotgun. It's a pistol that drops off of Captain Vor, which is actually not a bad pistol up to about mid-game. Has a lot of zoom, but no critical chance and a low status chance. That's what hurts it in the end. Sonicor shoots a ball of energy that explodes whenever it's near an enemy, so it's good for getting around cover. This is another one that I like a lot. I call it my Kamehameha. Base radiation damage, explodes and knocks back enemies when it hits them. You can either tap the trigger or charge it. These are your basic throwing short swords. And as they say, what's better than one Grakata? Two Grakata. This is basically like a hand rifle. Another one that I really like to use. And you can see there are still a few that I don't have. That is a rocket launcher, which you can charge up to fire multiple rockets. Marlock, I did have that, but when I picked up the Vacor Marlock, I didn't see a reason to keep it. Stug fires this gel that expands and then explodes. But it wasn't for me. This one is a hand microwave. You can microwave your enemies. The different types of melees. We have our sword and shield, which kind of fall down a little bit when it comes to damage, but for defense it is amazing. This staff here does a good bit of damage on your jump attack. Guaranteed electricity proc as far as I can tell. This scythe, a lot of fun. I do think scythes need a little bit of love, but I do like them. And the whip. Whips, they're fun to use. You can scale pretty much all of them into end game. The tonfas, there's the boltus, and where are you at? The Cronin. Those are the only two in the game right now. Both look good. Both decent, though not what I would call amazing. Broken War, single sword, one of the highest damage weapons in the game. This weapon has an interesting mechanic. When you do a charge attack, it actually throws the weapon. So those can be useful for stealth missions. That's the single sword that drops off of War. There's the one that used to be the highest damage in the game. This is another one that I like. Very elegant rapier. An elegant weapon from a more civilized time. Here's one of the anniversary weapons. They do look awesome. The Dragon Nikana, the upgraded version of the Nikana. Dual cleavers have a very high critical chance and a very nice critical multiplier, so you can definitely mod those up to do some good damage. Dual heat swords was one of the early melee weapons I got after the starter Skana. I'm just gonna kind of go through here. Daggers are interesting. They pretty much all of them, they're meant to focus damage on one enemy, and you can do a lot of damage, but it's to one enemy at a time, so you can get swarmed pretty quickly. Alright, now the Mios and the Lacera are two interesting ones. It's a sword and a whip together, and the stance for that has some really interesting combos where you can do kind of like the Scorpion, get over here, and have a little bit of fun with that. Also really good for clearing out rooms. It's pretty much all the combos are far reaching. The Orthos, if you throw a reach or a primed reach, that's another one that's good for clearing out rooms. This is probably my favorite whip to run with Saren. Just think it fits. Alright, and that is an overview of the weapons. Tune in next time and we will be going over bows. Have a good one.